The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA.
I think it's safe to say that Jamal Murray is not washed.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast.
So in the 90s, Jordan comes back from missing from the thing. He comes back mid-season from his deep love of baseball. And when he comes back, he plays in the Garden. And he drops 55 on the Knicks in I think it was his second or third game back. Jeez. And Spike does a commercial. They do an Air Jordan commercial, and it's Spike Lee. And he's like him being gave my Knicks a double nickel. And so that's where that comes from. Jamal Murray dropped a double nickel on the Portland Trailblazers 2 nights after being ejected. Man, the Canadian grit between these guys is absolutely amazing. Delano Banton talked that talk the other night, and Jamal Murray walked that walk tonight. As Murray goes, 55 points on 20 of 36, 55 on 36 shots with only 9 free throws, 7 of 15 from 3, 5 dimes, 2 steals, and a plus 26.
In a game they won by 11, Matt. Yeah. He was so clearly the difference tonight, and obviously that's the lead in. That's the understatement of the year for a double nickel game, but he was unbelievable. And I couldn't believe how many times the Blazers decided to go under screens. The Blazers decided to double off of Murray. The Blazers decided, you know what? The guy that we tried to rile up and trash talk to in the previous game, we're going to leave him alone. We're going to see if he can beat us. And boy, did he went off, man. It was awesome to watch. And it's just such a great reminder that he's still got this in the bag. And that is a crazy, crazy number. 55 points. The vast majority of players do not ever score that in their entire NBA career. I don't know how many players have ever scored 55 in their careers before. And now he's done it. It's second time in his career that he's gone for 50 in the regular season. I think it's the 4th time in his NBA career that he's gone for 50 regular season and playoffs. When it rains, it pours with him. Blue Arrow, he came to play.
Him doing this on a night that I had to miss because my son had high school registration. I'm pretty now forever. I'm going to have to be so where were you when Jamal had his career high? And I went in the building. And he does it 2 nights after some person on this podcast said that they were no longer residents of the island.
Did we do a show yesterday? Did that air?
No.
I don't remember that actually. That was
surely not.
Surely not.
The
funny thing is, man, is we joke about the no jinx thing, right? We joke about it. Mm-hmm. Every time I give a take, every time I make a statement, every time I declare a position, the opposite is declared true. So if you're a Nuggets fan and you've noted that I am going to shave an eyebrow slit into my eyebrow when they go 40 over 20, it's going to happen. I already said that it's not going to happen, therefore it will. So this is just how it goes, man. I don't know this stupid cosmic reality that I am in where I'm being pinned up against the wall.
You, the protagonist of reality. By the way, DVR Sports and Jake Shapiro are both hanging out in the comments.
What's up, guys? Happy All-Star break.
All right. So when I was watching, the most impressive thing to me was that Jamal was able to get them. So the burst has been the thing that's been missing, right? He's just got no burst. We've said that over and over again. He just can't shake anybody. He can't get loose. And what we've seen, and I've seen little bits and pieces of this because I've literally watched, I think I've watched 1,000 Nuggets half court possessions this week for doing clip work.
You've been going off.
And in that you pick up some, and that's not to like brag, like that's the job. Like,
Yeah.
But one of the things that's been notable is I'll be like, man, Jamal does have like a little bit of shake in these recent games. You look at the beginning of the season and you look now at how he was scoring and you're like, there's a jump there. But the biggest thing for me is that tonight he was able to get them. You mentioned them going under the screen, and every time they did that, he did fire the three and was able to knock it down. But then they started going over and he put him in jail. And I haven't seen Jamal get this loose by putting his defender in jail. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, when you're coming over off a pick and roll, or even you just blow by the guy, and you're able to get them behind you on your hip, when you slow down and they're bumped up against you, you get to control. Now you're in control of their momentum.
Yeah.
Like you get to control. They can't just like chase down and block you because they're trying to stop, start, and then go again. And Jamal was able to get such great separation because there was one sequence, he comes around the screen, puts the guy in jail, and then jumps to the left and pops the midi. And I was like, okay, I have not seen that in a minute. Like, it's been a minute since I saw Jamal Murray pull that kind of move out. Absolutely phenomenal. He steals the inbound pass.
Yeah. Like the
he
dude's playing so hard right now, Matt. Like, that's the thing that people don't fully realize. He cares so much about this right now, and him being able to do this on the last game before the All-Star break, that just shows the level of competitiveness that he has and why it was so freaking stupid for them to decide, you know what, we're gonna go at you. We're gonna talk. We're gonna do this thing. And they awoke something in him. It was crazy.
What did Malone have to say after the game about it?
I mean, the standard stuff of actually the most important thing that he said was anytime that a player has this kind of game, you're just so happy for him. You just care so much. And he and Jamal have been tied together at the hip for basically their entire tenures here in Denver. Jamal came a year after he did, but ever since Jamal got into this building, Malone's been a fan of his. Malone has really backed him up on consistent times because they're wired the same way. They both hate to lose. They're both extremely competitive. And Jamal, people don't remember this. When he played 82 games in the regular season in his rookie year with a sports hernia. It's that kind of stuff that Malone remembers. It's the stuff, the development along the way, the willingness to give your all, how he's fighting through the knee injury nonstop. Malone loves to see that work pay off and to see these moments pay off for him. And he cares about it so much. It's really cool to watch that kind of pay off over the course of these past couple months. Jamal has really turned a corner here. And Malone also made sure to note that this season, kind of two different seasons, before December 8th and after December 8th, when they lost to the Washington Wizards. And I think that's pretty notable. Went 11-10 into that game. And he mentioned Jamal's numbers after that moment. Elite.
I mean, I like to think that we sparked them because we called them out so much on that show.
That show was my favorite show to do on this podcast, because it was true. It was true in that moment. And that team was a different team than they are right now. They have evolved and gotten better. And they can be both squads. But it was very fascinating to see how much emphasis he put on that particular game and how much emphasis he's put on Jamal becoming better over the course of the season. I think everybody can see it clearly as day. He's just more agile. He is more physically ready. He talked about how he went into the weight room. He got into the weight room a little bit more, even during the season, and has really, he's his biggest critic, takes care of his body, trying to do his best to put himself into the best position to succeed and prove a lot of people wrong. So it's really cool. And I hate that I made that show yesterday.
I love it. I'm thinking about splicing together clips of you talking about how you're no longer on the island in between the clips of him. By the way, if you get we're going to post it on the Twitter. If you get a chance to go listen to the noises that Chris Marlowe made during this game for Jamal Murray, please do so, because it was absolutely amazing. Chris Marlowe made just ridiculous noises as Jamal did this.
I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Imagine going to the big game this Sunday. That's what a lot of the people around me here on Radio Row are going to do, and the fans who are coming to New Orleans. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have time searching. Inspiration makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and take the work on ticket Game Time. Download Game Time, create an account, and use promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
The Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Golden State Warriors. Let's start here slightly. The game ends. Kyrie Irving goes off for 42 points. Just an incredible night for him. And then Kyrie does the post-game interview. He's in the middle of the court, and there's just this gathering right over here in this corner. The tunnel where the Mavericks usually go in, there's this gathering, and it's a huge group. I mean, hundreds of people were standing over there. And Kyrie went to as many people as he could in the amount of time he was out there, probably 10 more minutes or something like that, and just was signing stuff. And there's a group of guys, must have been, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s, that got the hypest I've ever seen because Kyrie signed stuff for them. And they were like holding each other, and they were jumping up and down. It was like their team won the Super Bowl, honestly. It was like they were Eagles fans, and their team just won the Super Bowl. They were so hyped about it. And to see Kyrie take the extra time with those fans and to see what he did in this game tonight told me one thing, that Kyrie Irving knew exactly what this city needed tonight, that he knew that this team and this city needed a win, and he knew, I'm going to put everything on the line tonight. I'm going to put everything down. 42 points, 0 assists, the Chuckers stat line from Kyrie Irving to just go out there and give them every bucket. They needed every single one of them, and I just loved the game and the performance and taking the time from Kyrie Irving tonight. Twitter banner be damned. Kyrie Irving knew what the Mavs needed tonight.
He knew. Oh, I don't buy into that at all.
There's a conspiracy that Kyrie has his Twitter banner and his profile photo are both in purple and yellow, and people are freaking out about it. And I don't buy into anything either.
I mean, I know what it is, but I'm not gonna say it on here because I don't know how with YouTube's monetization stuff does. But anyways, yeah, Kyrie Irving. I mean, he's been such a leader for this team ever since he got here, and I think we forget sometimes just because of, you know, we traded for him. Like, we didn't necessarily watch his ascension in the league with him on our team, at least. And Luka was here and stuff. Like, he is a basketball cultural icon. Like, you forget about just how popular he is globally, how many people, especially like, you know, Kyrie's the Hooper's Hooper. Like, how many basketball people and people who play basketball love Kyrie Irving just because of how unbelievably skillful and talented he is. And it's a joy to have him on the team. And what he's done over the past week or so has just been phenomenal. I mean, he's stepped up. He's the low man on defense. Like,
I know he's guard Jimmy.
The team is requiring out of him right now, and just one more game for him. You know, I don't know if he's gonna play tomorrow night or not. Honestly, I would be a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he rests. Yeah. And then a much well-deserved trip to the All-Star game this weekend. So. Yeah, just incredible to watch Kyrie Irving do Kyrie Irving things night in and night out.
It is. It's an honor. He had that heat check in the third quarter with 7 minutes left, 3 threes in a row, and to do it in front of Steph Curry and to do it to Steph Curry, I felt was like disrespectful in the greatest way possible. Those 3 threes that put the Mavericks up 77-62, which I found funny. But that moment was awesome from Kyrie. He had 13 points in that third quarter. You had late in the game, Kyrie had he hit the 3 free throws. Najee Marshall got an offensive rebound. Kyrie got fouled, trying to get a shooting foul. Draymond was furious with the call, but he stood in there, hit all 3 of those free throws. Mavs are up 104-102, just absolutely massive. And a minute 47 left. Najee Marshall stands over in the corner, completely turns away an open 3, which I thought was very interesting, but kind of par for the course with what the Mavs have been doing, just driving away from corner 3s. And Kyrie hits one, just a fadeaway on the right wing 3 to put him up 107-104. That was massive too. Just some huge, massive plays from Kyrie in this one.
And it feels like, maybe this was on the broadcast, it feels like there's like a different look in his eye lately. There's like you know, he kind of recognizes the moment of what he has to do. And tonight, like, I saw him, you know, middle of the game, he's barking at Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, he was really like on court, you know, telling guys where to go. And I feel like we don't, maybe I'm misremembering, but it feels like we don't see that often out of him. And, he had a couple buckets where they would pan to him. And just the look that he had was just like, all right, we're not losing this game. Like, we need to win badly. I will do what is required for us to win the game. And it was a big win for the team. I mean, they really needed it for the standings, for the tiebreakers, all of it. Because you're going to be in this clump more than likely, 7, 8, 9, 10 clump. And the Warriors are probably going to be in there with you. So this was a very important game. I mean, we got 30 games left. Like it is getting towards the home stretch.
It's wild. Now the Mavs are 29-26. Like you said, they have one more game against the Heat tomorrow before the All-Star break. And so, I mean, we'll see what happens with this team, but they're sitting in an okay spot, a precarious spot roster-wise with all the stuff that Isaac talked about in the show yesterday, but they are in an okay spot at least for the time being right now. And this game was part of it. You mentioned him. You mentioned Kyrie and his going like talking to teammates and things like that. He also was going after the refs a couple times, which is just something we don't really see often from him. And I just thought that maybe that's part of the gamesmanship tonight. There was a lot of ref talk from the Warriors side of it. Obviously Draymond, but Steve Kerr got a technical during a timeout that was wild. He was going after James Williams. And at the beginning of the third quarter, Draymond had to hold him back. If Draymond has to hold you back in a situation with the refs, I don't think you're in the right in that. Probably, I thought that was funny. But just to point out that there was a lot of frustration from the Warriors side. I'm sure Chuck and Locked On Warriors will talk about that. But Kyrie maybe met them in that moment and said, all right, well, if they're going to try to argue for fouls, we can't just be sitting here and let things happen to us. So he was starting to go after them. And then he got that foul in the closing minutes. And I don't know, maybe it was worth it.
Maybe that wasn't even the funniest working the refs moment. They had easily had to go to Jason Kidd running onto the court. Yep. The most angry Jason Kidd has been all season long at the officials for making the right call.
What was that? Yeah. Beginning of the fourth quarter, there was a kick ball, and it looked like a kick ball to me on the replay and everything. Kid was furious. He runs out on the court, and they call inadvertent whistle, right? Like they switched it to inadvertent whistle. Then the Mavs got the ball because they had imminent possession, I guess. And then Max Christie got a layup, put him up 89-80.
Yeah. And I guess on the ESPN broadcast, I had people in my chat say that they said it was an 8-second violation, but I don't think that was the case at all.
Oh, interesting.
Because the Mavs broadcast never brought that up. So I don't know. Maybe it was an 8-second. I just thought that was hilarious because it was almost like the refs were like, oh, my God, Jason Kidd's this mad? Like, we must have really messed this one up.
The Mavs won this game. Again, it didn't make any sense for the Mavs to win this game, but they did come out pretty strong in this one. And we saw a couple of times the Mavs take advantage of the Warriors and go on some runs. And I was like, oh, man, the Mavs all of a sudden are going on runs. They went on an 11-0 run in the first quarter to put them up 15-6, and it was on the back of Clay. Clay had a couple of big threes there. Max Christie had another three, and the Mavs got out to a hot start.
Yeah, and this is more of just Clay being very aggressive, especially early on in games. I mean, 17 points on 6 of 19 is not good, but I really don't care. I've said this before on the show before that I want Klay Thompson shooting shots. Like I don't like the games where he finishes with 4 or 5 shots. That's not what you brought him in here to do. And I'll take the inefficient. I wasn't hitting my shots tonight games over that. I took 4 shots games every single time, just because if he's putting up a lot of shots volume wise, the defenses have to account for that even more. So I like when Klay's aggressive. I like when he shoots the ball a bunch. And, I don't really necessarily care what the numbers say unless we get in like a very prolonged stretch of bad shooting. But yeah, I mean, they've come out the gate strong in these games. That hasn't really been much of a concern lately.
No, they just needed somebody to be aggressive and to like, it's the old Tim Hardaway Jr. rule, right? Like somebody's got to go out there and take shots and be confident and make the defense pay for leaving him open, right? The still can't leave me open thing from Klay Thompson still rings true. And yeah, he missed a bunch of shots. He missed 13 shots, but the 17 that he gave them, they needed every one of them because nobody else had more than 15. Max Christie had 15. Brandon Williams had 12 off the bench. Everybody else didn't give him much. So like you just needed 17 in some way from Klay, whether it was going to be efficient or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's just the Tim Hardaway Jr. thing. We were always like, yeah, I know everyone wants him gone. Everyone wants to replace him. The reality is volume shooting is an important thing to have on a team. And Clay fits the bill. And then also he's a professional. He's been there. He kind of rises to the moment, similar to Kyrie at times, and even his passing and stuff. Like he does a good job. Like sometimes the Mavs have a problem getting the ball to Kyrie Irving whenever he's getting hounded and they're trying to, deny a pass. And Clay's very good at playing off of Kyrie and knowing where to give Kyrie the ball and where Kyrie wants the ball. I think that comes from playing next to a guy like Steph his entire career. So just important to have those two on the court and, the veteran presence, especially during such a rocky time like this.
That little two-man action. And Jason Kidd said before the game, everybody's playing center tonight. Klay Thompson, everybody needed a gang rebound. Klay Thompson got 7. The Mavs got out-rebounded a ton, but, 7 boards. You'll take it from you're starting, 3? Starting 2? Starting whatever he is. I guess Mavs don't have numbers anymore. There's nobody's tall enough or short enough to have no. Everybody's just out there. Everybody's a basketball player.
Everyone's just playing. This is truly positionless basketball. Honestly, Kyrie was guarding Quentin Post at times. Like Kyrie was probably the 5. Like if we're just going, if you're operating under the defense, your position is
you are what you defend. Yeah.
So Kyrie was like the Mavs center tonight when he was on the floor. Point center.
I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Imagine going to the big game this Sunday. That's what a lot of the people around me here on Radio Row are going to do, and the fans who are coming to New Orleans. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have time searching. Inspiration makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and take the work on tickets. Gametime. Download Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time.
The Knicks head into the All-Star break with some insanity. They survived the highest scoring game in the NBA this season.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
The Knicks, a crazy finish game. They led by 18 points in the second quarter, 12 points in the fourth. Trae Young went off at the end of the game. The Knicks looked like they were going to blow it despite some late shot making from Jalen Brunson. And similarly crazy overtime. Jalen Brunson gets a dagger with 17 seconds left. George Niang misses at the buzzer. And in a game that was on bath salts, the Knicks come out on top. I'll say it one more time because it was crazy. 149 to 148, Alex. They head into the All-Star break. Third in the Eastern Conference, 36-18, a top 3 record they've had since Pat Riley left 30 years ago, heading into the All-Star break. Was not easy to get there, though.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, the late game execution left a little bit to be desired. Let's just put it kindly in that way, I guess. A really bad pass from Karl Anthony Towns gets picked off. Dyson Daniels luckily only converts on 1 of 2 free throws when the Hawks were down 3. And then the Knicks, go to move the ball up the court again, and Josh Hart coughs it up, and it was just not the prettiest exchange there. He fouls Trae Young down the stretch, and that allows them to tie it, and then the Knicks can't win it with about 3 seconds left. But luckily, Jalen Brunson comes through in the overtime. I mean, he was coming through, to your point, he was coming through in the fourth quarter to begin with. I mean, this was sort of the Karl Anthony Towns show for most of it until the very end, when the Knicks just really needed Brunson to come to it. Not to say that he didn't do anything before the final few minutes or whatever and the overtime, but I mean, that was when his impact was most felt. The Knicks kind of were just like, we need buckets. We need to stay alive here. And Jalen Brunson first, the first one that kind of took my breath away was it hits a 3 right in Dyson Daniels' face. I mean, this guy is probably, I mean, look, it's not just that he's terrorizing Jalen Brunson, but this guy is probably the guy that is most terrorized him this year, I would say. I think that he is the greatest foil to Brunson, and that he's much taller than him, much longer than him, just as quick as him, and just has crazy quick hands, leading the NBA in steals, had 4 steals in this game. I mean, he's a fantastic defensive player, definitely the guy that's done the best individual job of guarding Jalen Brunson this season, I think. And yet Brunson just kind of all just with quick twitch reflexes, managed to get this 3 over him late in the game to give the Knicks, I think at the time, a 4-point lead. It looked like that was going to be all they needed.
Yeah.
And then obviously things fell apart down the stretch where they ended up tied up. But then later on in the overtime, brings the ball down the floor with like roughly 20 seconds on the clock. And with 11 left, just pulls up from the mid-range, just drives in, very quick stop on a dime for a mid-range shot, and freezes Daniels just far enough away from him to get a shot over his outstretched hand. Both times, just, Brunson going all the way into the bag of tricks, using his full ability to start and stop on a dime, his full ability to, use his quick twitch reflexes to, give a quick look one direction or another, just one quick little movement to freeze his defender for just enough time to get that quick release 3 off in the one in the fourth quarter. And then, stopping on a dime in the overtime to freeze Daniels there. It was just brilliant shot making down the stretch from Brunson. This is, I guess, much to the chagrin of like the one guy in our YouTube comments that keeps coming in and being like, Cat is the only real all-star and Brunson's a ball hog that's holding the team back. Well, maybe you think that, and if you do, you're foolish, because I mean, this is the reason that you have this guy on the team. This is why you're building around him. He's clutch as hell. He makes the shots that he needs to make, and he just is a fantastic ball player that can get you a bucket when you need it the most with no help at all, even against arguably the best defender in the NBA at this particular moment. So huge hats off to Jalen Brunson. I thought this was one of his best games of the season, definitely one of his signature games of the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible first half of the year. Like in terms of his scoring, passing efficiency, and keeping turnovers down. There was some combination of those numbers that he's now hit 2 seasons in a row that I think no one in NBA history has ever hit. His isolation numbers, which was just the aspect of this game that stood out to me, was to your point. Like, I wouldn't even say that Dyson Daniels is the ultimate Jalen Brunson stopper. I would just say that Dyson Daniels is the ultimate stopper, period. Like, kind of came out of nowhere to take that crown. Maybe you had Alex Caruso, maybe you had someone like Herb Jones, but I would say he is in a category of his own. And Jalen now, after struggling the first 2 games against the Hawks, he has won that matchup now twice in a row on the season. Jalen, he's like 7th in the NBA in total isolation points per game, but in terms of points per possession, he's been better than Shea. He's been better than Jason Tatum, just behind 2 older guys, James Harden, Kevin Durant, for the best of any of the higher volume guys in the league. Also behind Zach LaVine, he's been incredible. But I thought we should go back and just say how this game was won, just because it was on bath salts. It was crazy. Like, first quarter, I thought was one of the sharper quarters the Knicks have played in some time. Like, Alex, you've been asking, like, when are we going to get back to the early season Knicks offense? And that's what it looked like. Just beautiful ball movement across the board. A lot of it was inspired by the fact that the Hawks again put Trae Young on Mikal Bridges, and the Knicks wisely, which they did not do during the NBA Cup, we're bringing Trae into the action, using Mikal as a screener. Brunson over and over again was splitting, like, because Dyson Daniel would try to hover around, not give up the switch, and Trae would just be like, Jalen would just be like, if you're going to be indecisive, I'm going to split it, hit Mikal. Led to some beautiful ball movement sequences, some amazing shot making from JB that I'll get into more later. 16 points in the first quarter from him, and then Karl Anthony Towns, just an extraordinary second and third quarter, 18 in the second, 15 in the third. The defense, though, I thought really fell off in the third, where it was good enough on Trae Young in the first half, and Mikal Bridges sort of let go of the rope, maybe just the accumulation of the minutes he's been playing all season. But he started getting cooked by Trae Young, who had just a crazy game, even if he wasn't that efficient scoring-wise. He finished with 38 points and 19 assists, 8 turnovers. I mean, just doing everything for Atlanta. And there was a stretch where Mikal had absolutely no shot against him. Campaign opens up the fourth with a personal 9-0 run to get the Knicks rolling, put them up by 12. And then from there was a Trae Young show. Logo threes, lob dunks, bad defense from Mikal, bad defense from Josh Hart, bad defense from Karl Anthony Towns. And then, to your point, the Knicks are up by 6 after 2 Josh Hart free throws with 18 seconds left, and they managed to self-destruct a George Niang 3. Karl Anthony Towns throws the ball away on the inbound. Maybe he was blaming Mikal Bridges. I didn't get it. You had 2 timeouts. Just take a timeout. It was a bad pass. Daniel stole it. They go 1-2 at the line, and then Towns gives up the free throw. 2 Trae Young free throws after another Kobe White moment where Josh Hart fouls him with 2 seconds left, Trae facing away from the rim, and then that led into the Brunson overtime heroic. So just a crazy, crazy basketball game. But I don't know. There's even more we could say about Brunson, or if you want to go into Cat, because he also had an amazing night offensively.